Welcome to Plano's Political Pitbull Podcast. I am Esther.
And I'm Ruth.
And today we are going to talk about some things that were talked about at the October 28th, 2024 Plano Council preliminary meeting. First, I want to add something to the discussion we had in the last episode. So last time we talked about the JCPenney property and zoning case 2024-003 that passed P&Z. So the rent for the proposed new apartments was reported to be, by the developer, it will be $4,000 to $15,000 a month. So I was wondering how much that would be a year. So I did the math. So at the $4,000 a month rate, it would be $48,000 a year. And at the $15,000 a month rate, it will be $180,000 a year for the rent. Now, clearly this is more than the majority of people make a year. So you're talking very expensive. So then I decided, well, how much would you have to make a year to be able to afford one of these apartments? So I went to the internet and I asked, well, how much rent is somebody supposed to put forth out of their income? And the internet said, as a rule of thumb, rent shouldn't exceed 30% of your gross monthly income. Now that's income before taxes, which I don't know why they do that. I think it should be what you actually get after taxes, but okay, I wasn't going to get picky. So I did some math and figured that at that amount, you would need a monthly income of $13,333 a month, which would make your yearly gross salary $159,996. Now that's for the $4,000 apartment. That's for the cheap apartment. Okay? Ruth is laughing.
I know I definitely wouldn't be able to afford that.
Right. Most people wouldn't be able to afford that. So going all the way up to the $15,000 a month apartment, you would have to make $50,000 a month. I think that's what most people make a year now. I can't remember what the average national going salary is, but 50, maybe about right. Could be a little more around Plano, but at $50,000 a month, you're talking an annual salary of $600,000 a year to afford that apartment. So really, Commissioner Ollie, the only housing market that these apartments might free up is the multi-million-dollar market, okay?
You know, your plastic surgeons, your high-profile lawyers.
Yeah, we have so many of them in Plano.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you, because I do the bills for the household here, my mortgage is less than $4,000 a month. It costs me less than $4,000 a month to live in my house. All right? That's after everything. Okay? Utilities, the heat, the electricity, the phone, the lawn care, the mortgage, you're getting the picture, right? Okay, everything, all right?
A house. Think about that.
A whole house. Costs,
Much bigger than a little apartment.
oh yeah. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what, maybe Ollie doesn't do his bills. I don't know. Or maybe he's amongst one of these, in this class of people. I don't know. I don't know anything.
He doesn't know the average person. He's blinded.
I don't know. So remember, this is coming to council on November 11th. So if you would like to go there and say, have you lost your minds? Or we don't want this. Or let's come up with something else. Or it doesn't follow the comprehensive plan. This is not what Plano wants.
Or, hey guys, can we think about this for a second? Not only do we really not need more apartments, but you're making them not affordable too.
Not affordable to the common man, that's for sure.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not affordable to any normal person.
Like average Plano residents.
Exactly.
It's not affordable.
No. So you can also leave a response on the zoning map, which is at the city website. All right, well, moving on. So to the October 26th preliminary meeting of City Council. So first thing, they had a DART update. Now, for those who don't know, DART is basically our rapid transit here in the DFW area. And DART and Plano have not seen eye to eye lately. But the thing that I found interesting out of this conversation that they had was the city manager said they need a legacy circulator shuttle from the Legacy Business Park to the shops at Legacy and Legacy West. And here's the quote that Mark said. So when we're talking with some of the people who are moving in, I'm going to hazard a guess it's going to be the business people that he's talking to. But he did not make this clear, all right? But he said, talking to the people who are moving in, whether it's going to be a 10 to 15 minute walk to the restaurants and retail, the issue that we have is we don't have dedicated shuttles to the Legacy Business Park. And the idea is once people drive into the business park, they should not have to get back in their cars to go have lunch or go to a meeting at a different building. Close quote. I found this, I laughed. I had to laugh. I just did.
What?
Yeah. So Legacy has become very, very dense and very, very big. And we have the business area and we have the shops at Legacy, and of course we have Legacy West. And all these areas have the businesses in them, and they also have the restaurants and everything. Now the shops at Legacy's it's a mixed use development. Legacy West is a mixed use development, and the business park, which is right across the street from the shops at Legacy, where it starts anyway. The idea of all of these things was, walkability.
It sounds like they want Legacy to be like New York.
Yeah, hold that thought, because it's not like New York, okay?
I'm just saying, it just sounds like that's what they want it to be.
Yeah, maybe, but I can tell you this much. If you go outside your office building, you're not taking a shuttle to go to lunch. You're taking the 10-minute walk down the block, okay? But here's what some of the interesting thoughts were. So Councilman Horn said, this can be tied to economic development. Oh, yes, he used that word.
I think I'm starting to hate that word now.
So, quote, to quote Councilman Horn, if we're able to have a circular route, a shuttle, circular route from the EDS or the new Canes, Raising Canes building, it is going to make it easy for them to shop and eat in the shops at Legacy. So,
Didn't you say it's like across the street from the business? They can't walk that little bit?
Yeah. Wait for it, because don't get ahead of me. So, I used Google Maps. I know not everybody likes Google Maps, but that's the one I used. Okay. And I wanted to see how long it would take to walk from the EDS, or what is going to be the new, basically, Science Center Research Park when they're all done with those buildings, on Legacy Drive and Parkwood Boulevard. And I, to Legacy shops at Legacy, to a restaurant there. All right, picture it. You're a person, you're a business person, and you're in your office, and you decide you're in the mood for steak, and you have a lunch hour. Okay. So you decide, I'm in the mood for steak, and I want to go to a steak place. All right, and the steak place that's over there that I saw anyway, there's probably many, but I just saw Bob's Steak and Chop House. That was the closest one I could find on the map. Google Maps said it would take me 13 minutes to walk. Now, I have to say, Google, I don't know why, it would not take me across the grass. No, it had me kind of going a roundabout way. So I come out of the front door of what I think is the front door of the building, facing what is now the existing parking lot. Granted, I have no idea if any of this is going to be there when they're all done with the renovation. But let's say it's this way for now. Okay? So I come out of the building, and if a regular person would just walk along the sidewalk until they got to the grass, walk across the grass, across Park Boulevard by Lunsford Road, which is right across there. They cross Park Boulevard at Lunsford Road and go into the shops at Legacy, and they'd be there. It's probably would chop off about 5 minutes, I think.
3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah, depending on how fast you walk. Okay. And instead, Google had me go around the parking lot, down on the property to...
It wants you to follow the sidewalks.
Yeah, it wants you to follow the sidewalks, basically. To what looks like Henry, okay? Henry Cook Boulevard. And then you take Henry Cook Boulevard, walk up Parkwood Boulevard, then cross at the Luthford, and then go into Legacy West, not Legacy West, excuse me, shops at Legacy. So, what is that? 10 minutes? Okay. But again, as we have pointed out, you could do that this time of year, when it's not raining. But obviously in the dead of summer, they couldn't do that. And
sometimes the rain is nice.
Yeah, nice. But, if you're walking in nice shoes, you don't want to walk in the rain. How long would the drive be? Get in your car, cross the street, go to, and park right, let's say, either valet, if they have a valet, I don't even know if they do, or park in one of the parking garages.
Including walking to your car and getting in and finding a parking space, maybe 3 minutes at most.
So driving it is 3 minutes. So let's add another minute to get in the car, or get to the car, get in the car, go across and find a parking. Let's add 2 minutes, okay? So 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 minutes, okay? Now, here is another question.
No, my estimate of 3 minutes was including the 3 to 4 minutes, including all the extra stuff.
Yeah, but according to Google, it takes 3 minutes to drive there, so.
Fine.
No. Yeah, and that now you'd have to follow the you couldn't go across the grass. You'd have to follow the roads. So let's say estimate 5 minutes. Okay. Now, how long would it take for the shuttle? And the shuttle isn't free. All right. For you to wait for the shuttle, and the shuttle would have to circle. It's not going to drop you right off at where you want to go. It's going to drop you probably off either maybe in a designated on and off location that they could unload passengers and upload passengers. So I'm thinking it's probably going to be maybe 15 minutes because they want this thing to circle shops at Legacy, Legacy West, and the whole business park. I honestly don't think that it would sway anybody. I think people are still going to want to get in their cars and go across.
I mean, I guess it just depends on your priorities, because maybe you'll have those people who are like, oh, but it's so hard to drive, and they just want to be able to get on a shuttle and go wherever they want to go. And then you might have people who like to walk and would rather just walk. And then maybe you'll have the people who want to who value their time more and would just rather drive because it takes less time. I think it depends on the priorities.
And the weather. So my conclusion to this is basically walkability isn't really walkable, which is what we have been saying for a very long time now. You can make these walkable places. And I mean, come on, a 10-minute walk, a 5-minute walk, that's not a lot. I think it would take them longer to get on the freaking shuttle and wait on the shuttle than to actually get there. And most people, I don't know, maybe you just have an hour for lunch. I think most people are just going to get in their cars.
Yeah, because that's the least time taken versus walking for like 13 minutes. Mm-hmm. It's already 13 minutes you've wasted out of your lunch.
Yep. I mean, they claim these things are walkable. I'm sorry. They're not. And I don't know. Now we can see it. Because now they want DART to have a shuttle that is going to go around the business park, around shops at Legacy, and around Legacy West to connect all of these places.
Yeah, then what was the point of the walkability factor, quote unquote, if you now have to make a shuttle? You're negating the entire purpose of this development.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You're just proving that, our plan didn't work.
Could have told you that. I told them that in the first place. Been telling them that for years. This is not Santa Barbara where it's 72 degrees and sunny for 300 days out of the year. Okay? This is Texas.
I know you don't like to walk, but some people do like to walk.
I like to walk just fine.
No, you don't.
When it's 50 degrees out right now. I'll walk fine.
And I don't mind walking in 70-degree weather. For me, 50 is too cold, okay?
Well, we are at two different stages of our lives, okay? Maybe I'll want the 70-degree weather again. But the point is that now they want this shuttle. I mean, they said we want to save, one of the reasons for all of these things is to save the environment, reduce the amount of CO2 from the cars that is emitted. Okay, reduce the traffic.
Let's make a train.
No.
I know it's not a train.
It's not a train. It's a bus.
It's a bus.
Basically, it's a bus. They called it a shuttle.
Oh, and that's worse. Buses are worse.
Mm-hmm. I will say, if it does work, the one good thing is that there might be a reduction in the amount of cars over at the shops at Legacy. But I doubt it. All right. Moving on. So the next thing they talked about was comments of public interest. Okay? So the council chambers in City Hall is almost done. Yay! Soon they will be moving back and out of Davis Library. Right now they're in Davis Library. And city manager says he wants to keep comments of public interest via Zoom, keep it at the end of the meeting, for the first year they're back. I have to say, I was not thrilled when they went to Davis Library and they said, due to the size of Davis Library, they want to put comments of public interest via Zoom. And we talked about this. We said, well, so wait a minute. If you're there to talk on an item, you can't also discuss comment. You have to go run home and speak on comments of public interest via Zoom.
I mean, technically, you could go into your car and go on Zoom on the phone.
Okay, sure. And
technically.
I guess you could. Yeah, you could. And then the other problem I had was obviously this chills the First Amendment right for people who don't have Zoom or don't have computers with a camera on it. My computer that we used to make this podcast does not have a camera on it.
But like I said, most people have a phone.
Yes, and my mother wouldn't be able to use either one of those things. Right?
And that's where she gets help.
Okay.
She gets you to help her.
Yeah, it's true. But, a lot of your seniors who are retiring in place don't have these things. So I said, well, they'll just have to wait maybe when we get back. All right? So let's see what our lovely council people said. So, Councilman Williams and Anthony, Councilman Williams and Riccadelli, they want for it to be an option of whether you're on Zoom or in person. They think that, people should be able to come in and face them and air their grievances.
I think that's a good idea because that way you're opening more options for people who maybe don't want to or don't have the time to make the drive over. They can just do it on Zoom. And for people who do want to come in person, like they have another thing they want to talk about, aside from just the comments of public interest, they can say it in person because they're already there.
Now, this is where it got a little interesting. So, Councilman Riccadelli, he likes keeping it to the end of the meeting, all right? And his reasoning was that sometimes they have people who come in who speak kind of profanely, use profanity. And, when they have the Boy Scouts there and comments of public interest is the first thing after the pledges, well, there could be children in the room.
Oh, like those children have not heard profane words before. In our world right now.
I think,
I'm just saying.
I think that you could, escort the children usually leave. They say the Pledge of Allegiance, and after that, they'll usually leave within another 5 minutes, okay? But okay, there could be children in the room. I don't agree with Riccadelli, with Councilman Riccadelli on this. So Councilman Williams said, leaving comments at the end keeps citizens with legitimate business on the hook for an indeterminate amount of time. And that's true. you could have they could have a very short meeting. I mean, sometimes they just have the consent agenda and nothing else, and it's time for comments of public interest. Great. Lucky. That person is very lucky. But sometimes they're there until 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, sometimes they're there late because they're going back and forth on a very complicated issue. And the person who just came to talk about a street light on their block
Has to sit there and fall asleep.
Yeah.
Practically.
Or
for the next how many hours?
Came to complain about their landlord isn't fixing something. That was something that somebody had come up to pay one of the low-income housing units. They were not keeping the place up, and the person said he complained to staff and, well, didn't get very far. So they've got do you imagine he's got to sit there? That poor man would have to sit there for 5 hours. One time they had a council meeting that was 8 hours long.
I wouldn't make it.
No, no, I'd be done. I'm like, come back later. So he asked if they had the authority to move it even after the agenda was published. And the mayor does have the authority to move around stuff on the agenda, even though it might be listed at the end. If he so desires, he could move it to the middle of the meeting. Maybe that's
a good compromise.
A compromise.
Even though I still don't agree with Anthony's.
Maybe not right after. Maybe not after the consent agenda. Maybe have it after item 1. Okay. And don't put anything too controversial in item 1. Now, of course, God forbid we should have any kind of consensus on this. Councilwoman Prince said that she had challenges with the inconsistency. Or actually, that's not what she said. She said the inconsistency of where it is on the agenda may cause challenges. And she thinks that it should really be consistent. And, of course, she thinks they should keep it at the end of the meeting. And Councilman Smith, who I have to tell you, I have been greatly disappointed in Councilman Smith. I really have. I don't know what happened with him. He's just been such a disappointment with his votes lately. But I digress. So he wants to keep them at the end and is okay with keeping it on Zoom. So too bad, Grandma. Yeah, you won't get to speak. And
get with the times.
Yeah. Councilwoman 2, she agreed that it should be at the end. And this was the funny part. Here's a really funny part. She said,
there's a funny part?
Yeah, there's a funny part. Moving back into a new place loaded with new technology. Okay? Because they're going to have all new technology. Right? Loaded with new technology. Interesting things sometimes happen. It would behoove us to wait a little while before we start changing and bringing people in live again for comments of public interest.
That's the most excuse sentence I've ever heard.
Yeah. It helps us control what are some of the policies that need to be in place. I think it just controls speech. Because
you said the quiet part out loud.
Yeah. And we can revisit this issue. And of course, Councilman says, I don't see that we need to do anything because we're going to have people speak on an agenda item in person. So apparently the technology is not going to be a problem for those who want to speak on an agenda item but it's going to be a problem for comments of public interest. And I have to tell you, they have had more problems with the dang Zoom, all right, than they have with people in person, okay, while they've been at Davis. And
Do you mean like technical difficulties?
yes, and here is, I was proven right at this meeting, because at the end of the meeting, at the end of the general council meeting, there was a lady who came on and she wanted to do comments of public interest via Zoom, obviously, because she didn't have another choice. So the secretary is loading her in, and she has the voice, and she says, "Can you hear me?" And they said, "Yes, but we can't see you. We need to see you because state law says that they have to be on a video. So anybody who doesn't have a camera, oh well, screw you." But she had a camera, so she's like, okay. So she's trying to turn on her video, and she says, "It's not turning on." And she's like, okay, I'll try again. And it's not going on. And she said, "I can't get it to work. And I don't know why it's not working. I use Zoom all the time. It usually works." So they said, "Okay, please email us at city council, blah, 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 and we'll get back." And she's like, "Okay, I will email you my comments, and I expect an answer in return." I'm like, yeah, good luck, sweetie. If you get an answer, I'll be shocked. Technology has its challenges, especially with Zoom and comments of public interest.
Why do we overcomplicate such simple things?
We've gone over their comments of public interest policies.
Yeah, I know. This is how I read it. The reason they want to keep it at the end is because it's more convenient for them, less people to hear whine and moan and complain, and because they don't want to hear it.
Yep.
Having it on Zoom also limits that because of the technical difficulties. Like, yay, we don't have to hear about this person. We don't have to hear this person. We can move on. Woo.
And at 3 minutes, they can turn them off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They can literally just boop, click a button.
And they're off. Exactly. So there is that. For years, they did comments of public interest at the beginning. They gave people their 3 minutes. And yeah, sometimes it's about, my neighbor's dog is constantly barking and pest control won't do anything. Pest control, yeah.
I get sometimes
Animal control won't do anything about it. Go ahead.
I get sometimes people can have really, I'm going to say the word stupid, really stupid complaints or things that the city council can't control. So it's kind of like, why are you here? But it's still part of our freedom of speech, and you should still respect it, even if it's annoying.
It's part of freedom of speech, and it's part of petitioning your government for redress of grievances.
Because then you have the people who do have something important to say. You don't know who's going to come in when.
Exactly. And you are doing what's called, here's a little legal term, chilling the right. You are putting so many obstacles in front of a person who wants to exercise their right to petition their government that you are making it impossible to do it. All right? And unless, you're a whiz at technology and your tech is working fine and
you don't have slow internet.
Exactly. Maybe you don't have an internet outage. I mean, think of all the things that can happen. This started with them wanting to change this for 2 reasons. Alex Stein and the Palestinian sympathizers. Okay, Alex Stein came in and he's joking around and he's using foul language and
Like, I get it's annoying.
He's annoying. Okay, fine.
But
He's
you
a
can't
comic.
you can't essentially punish the entire all your residents for a few people who are acting stupid.
Exactly. And then you had the Palestinian sympathizers who came in wanting Plano to boycott Israel. I was like, okay, we have no...
That's what I was kind of referring to
Yeah.
the thing that they can't control.
Yeah. And taking up a lot of time, and also at one point they had to close the meeting and come back at another time because they had an issue with a person and were afraid that things were going to get violent. I don't know. You got guys there with, you have armed guys there. I think you're pretty safe. But so that was why they moved it to the end, which of course then harms the
Average
resident who doesn't want to sit there. But there have been some good things that have come out of comments of public interest. So when we had problems with Airbnbs or what they call short-term rentals, these people would rent out their homes for a weekend and it would be a party house, all right? And the neighbors were going crazy. And these group of citizens got together and they organized and they went down there every time comments of public interest came up, and they said, well, you need to do something to stop this. This is a boarding house. We don't allow, your zoning ordinance does not allow this. And they would bring people. Not everybody would talk. They'd bring a group of people, okay? Maybe they'd bring 10 to 20 people. And they'd have 5 people actually speak. And I remember the head of the group, so to speak, he had asked everyone here who agrees with me, please stand up. And the people who came with him would stand up. So you didn't have to take the full half hour that is allowed for comments of public interest. You had just key people who would say different things, and then they'd have their supporters in the back standing up when it was their cue. That was a very smart way to go about it, and it moved the meeting along. And now we have a stronger ordinance that prevents the short-term rentals from going on in residential neighborhoods. If those folks had to wait until the end, would they have gotten very far? I don't know. Because, some of those supporters may have had to go home. I don't know if it would have had the same amount of weight as it did.
The thing about having unburdened freedom of speech is that it comes with good and bad. But in order to quote unquote stifle the bad, you're then also stifling the good.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just not a worthy trade-off.
No, it's not. And they are preventing people who are technologically challenged from coming in and having their say. Now, nobody registered a complaint to the ACLU. Okay, no, that was good. Nobody tried to sue them, to my knowledge. So they lucked out. Probably because this was supposed to be temporary, but now the city manager was like, well, we want to extend this for another year. Another year? Why? You're going to have great technology? Are you, I would actually be more worried that the technology for Zoom isn't going to work. I mean, that was a ridiculous thing. So they came up with a compromise. So the compromise was they were going to wait 3 months.
Why are we waiting at all?
I don't know. Because you had 2 and Prince wanting to wait. Smith was okay with it. Horn didn't really speak on it. Neither did the mayor. Actually, that's not true. The mayor said, it's going to take us a little time to make sure we know how to handle someone that is being difficult. That was what he said.
Huh? Say that again.
It is going to take a little time to make sure we know how to handle someone that is being difficult.
See, that's the whole thing. They're doing all of this because of a few people who they believe are difficult. But again, you can't just essentially punish an entire group of people because of a few people that are annoying or being difficult or being bad. I can't think of any other adjectives.
Those are all good adjectives. So, what was the compromise? The compromise was 3 months. Okay? That was the compromise. And Prince, I believe it was Prince who came up with it. She's like, all right, how about 3 months and then we have them back? But of course, it's still at the end, which is not fair. And
we're getting progress.
Mr. Mayor, if you want to know how to deal with somebody that's being
quote unquote difficult,
you have 2 police officers sitting next to the dais, right? If somebody is being difficult, and I would imagine that means going over time, using foul language in front of children.
Maybe gonna be violent.
Get the guys with the guns to escort them out.
You can do that.
Yes, you can. They had their 3 minutes, okay? Then they can leave. I would definitely recommend that if you are lovers of the Bill of Rights and lovers of your First Amendment, then please go right to your city councilman and tell them this isn't right. We shouldn't be punished because of a few bad apples.
Oh, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Why didn't I think of that one?
I don't know. Anyway, well, if you have liked this episode, please remember we ask you to please like, share, and subscribe. And that is going to be it for us today. This is Esther.
And this is Ruth.
For Plano's Political Pitbull, signing off.